Welcome back, everybody, to the Haunted Heart Podcast.
I'm so happy that you're back. I'm disappointed if you're not. But if you're not back, then you're not here to hear my disappointment. So
So it falls on deaf ears, as
it
they
really
say.
does. It really does. It
As
really
they
does.
say. I learned a new word 5 seconds ago.
Oh, really? What is that?
I love how you asked me as though you weren't here when I discovered the word. So on my word of the day calendar, the word of the day for today is kith. Kind of like you're saying
Kith?
kiss, but with a lisp.
Okay. Kith.
Kith, and it means familiar friends, neighbors, or relatives, which would be the term that I would use for all of our listeners. So, hello, Kith.
I don't like that.
It's weird.
I don't like it.
Kith.
Hey, Kith.
Kith.
Hey, Kith. I don't. Mm-mm.
Hey, all you cool Kith.
Oh, you cool Kith.
Yeah, so there you go.
That doesn't.
Don't say I never educated you on anything, because there you go. Educational podcast.
It is. Word of the day podcast. We're officially done.
Fun
Podcasting
education.
in under 2 minutes.
Funnucation.
That is it. So I hope you guys have been enjoying yourselves over the past week. Hope you had a great holiday. Hope you had some fun. I know I got some fucking terrible sunburn because I'm white, and that it just, I don't know. I put browning oil on.
Why did you do that? Why did you fucking do that? What would possess you to do that? You are pale as fuck, and most of your ancestry is Irish. The other part is German.
Yeah.
You don't belong in browning oil. Like, not to be discriminatory, because we're a very inclusive community here, but I'm going to say that you, when it comes to the very specific topic of browning oil, should be discriminated against for that product. They should not sell it to you because it is against your best interest. The fuck possessed you?
Well, because I just I don't know. It just said that it would, help. Help.
Did it
just
help?
Said that it would help.
Did it help you? Did it in any way help you? No.
No.
You just wanted
In
to
fact,
be a
I
tan
think
Brazilian goddess.
I was just trying it out. Listen, I only go out in the sun once a year. And I just figured, hey, let me give it a shot. Right?
No, you don't go straight
Honey,
to the fucking browning oil.
no.
There's preparation for that.
I'm about as red as the Red Lobster, honey. I am serving you cheddar biscuits all day. And it's fine.
Damn, I
no
wish
more
you did
browning
have
oil.
some cheddar biscuits.
I would really love some fucking cheddar biscuits
should
right
make
now.
some.
But we don't have cheddar biscuits. But you know what we do have? We do have some patrons.
We
My
do.
God. My God. I am so thankful for all of your support. And
But
so
I'm not. But I'm not. Fuck all y'all.
I realized how that sounded.
I
when
am.
was coming out. We are so thankful for your support. And especially during this crazy time, like we said before on other episodes, please make sure that you're taking care of yourself first, and and your family and your needs. But
thanks for the generosity.
Thanks girl. We love it. We love it.
You love it.
We love
I
it.
love it.
I love it.
All right, let's get this show on the road with some invocations.
We
Do you
need
want to
to
go first
invocate.
this week?
Yes, I do want to go first this week.
You're going to
actually,
take the lead.
I am. I'm going to take the lead. I'm going to grab my things here. First, we have a very beautiful soul by the name of Tiffany E., who is a member of our Stay Spooky Squad.
All right. And you know what, girl? This must be bringing on, because we have built quite the squad. Next up, we have another Stay Spooky Squad member, and her name is Amber S. The S stands for spooky.
Spooky. All right, my loves. Our candles, your candles are lit. All of our candles are lit. But yours will light our way through this episode because you never know how dark it can be. But forever and always in our dark little hearts. So thank you again. And if you want your own invocation, you can actually head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/thehauntedheart. And see what we got for you there. Lots of bonus content, spooky stuff. Figure it out. You're smart people. So.
It's 2020. We believe in you.
It is 2020, unfortunately. Definitely.
All right. So what do we have today?
I don't really know.
Please let me know.
I don't really know.
That's good. That's always a good sign. That's always how you know it's going to be a great episode.
I just don't really know. I was all right. No, it is a Kenny episode this week. So I don't really know what that means at this point. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I just don't know what that means. I feel like you
better pull up that fucking Google Drive, bitch.
But I just feel like. When it's a Katie episode, they know that it's going to be either dark or twisted or like.
Do they?
I feel like they do, or at least I do.
Okay.
Like I feel like when it's your episode, I'm usually either I'm going to be brutally depressed or severely mind fucked.
Yeah. Or in the case of last week, both. Both.
That is true. That is true. So I don't know. I just find shit to talk about. And that's this episode today.
That's the art of podcasting.
That is the art of podcasting, just finding shit to talk about. But no, for this week's subject, I was really just trying to deliver content. Being a content creator is hard. And it's very, very strenuous on your mind and your spirit. So take what you get with
Feel
this one.
bad for us. Feel bad for us.
I need sympathy.
Jesus. There's like first responders and like frontline medical folks, and we're like, it's hard to be a content creator. Ridiculous.
Listen, yes, in a way. Well, but like nobody tells you how fucking exhausting not doing anything is nowadays. True. Like. I don't know about other people, but for me, I've never been more exhausted in my life than I have during quarantine.
Yeah, I think there's something to do with the collective just depression of the entire world, and also the fact that we're poised on the edge of oblivion. That's just really taking the wind out of a lot of people's sails. But the one piece of advice I would give you is just try to get up and do something active at least once a day, because it's true with energy. If you don't use it, you lose it. So if you aren't moving around and doing something active, then your body just kind of says, we don't need this energy. And then you're just a lump.
Well, call me a lump. It's hard for me to even stay up past midnight. I'm more like a fucking early evening werewolf now, I've come to find.
Werewolf aging gracefully.
Pretty much.
That would be the most amazing Instagram handle. Werewolf aging gracefully. Somebody create that. I need that.
Shit, I might eventually. Give me a couple years. So when I started thinking about like isolation and confinement, it sort of naturally drew me into the subject of our prison system.
Oh, what a great uplifting topic.
It is great. And then I thought, well, I've been to prison, and not the kind that you find in Pornhub. Although there is a particular video that does pop up on Twitter porn of a well-endowed tattooed man in what I can only assume to be a high-risk prison cell. But no. We're not talking about that. We're talking about haunted prisons, and specifically one of the most haunted ones in America, the Eastern State Penitentiary.
Oh, yay. This will be fun.
Yes. I figured, we talk a lot about people in, cases and stuff like that. But it's rare that we ever talk about like actual buildings or places, And those tend to fare really well. In particular, that one episode that you did of when you went to Scotland.
Oh, yeah.
Really fun. Really fun. So I figured...
That was fun. It was totally worth the trauma. Totally.
Yes. So some may recall that this past October, I actually had the opportunity to tour this place, and it's located in the great home of the cheesesteak. We love a good cheesesteak.
I thought you were going to stop at cheese, and I was like, it's not in Wisconsin.
No.
It's in the title where it is. Thought we were going to have another one of those incidents where you
we're not
you
referenced
a canyon in Nevada.
We're not going to talk about
or in
that.
Arizona.
We're not going to. Why would you do that? You know how I feel. Why would you say that? I need to insert that Kim Kardashian.
You should. Oh, that'll be good. We can get sued by Kim Kardashian. Love it.
Oh God. No, the cheesesteak. We love a cheesesteak. I love everything on mine. Some oil and vinegar on that shit.
Hell yeah.
Fucking give
oil
me
and
all
vinegar.
the
Here's how
cheesesteak.
you got to do it. Oil and vinegar, mayonnaise, caramelized onions, mushrooms, extra meat. Always got to go for the extra meat.
Yeah.
Toast it. Delicious.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
So I'll get into a little bit about my experience later, but I kind of just wanted to dive into the history of Eastern State, its architecture, because that's a really important part of it, and then my overall thoughts on the site as a whole.
Oh, fancy.
Yes.
We're an architecture
We're an
podcast
architecture
now.
podcast now.
Everybody get out your reading glasses and pull them to the edge of your nose so that we can all be fancy.
Listen, my grandfather was an architect. I thought actually for a moment that I was going to do that. I took a drafting class once in high school.
I could see that, actually.
I took a drafting class once in high school. It was I thoroughly enjoyed it, the drawing and like that part of it. But then when we started doing like the computer generated stuff, I was out.
When the measurements have to line up, it just is not a thing. Because we're very organic people. Much like when we tend to, like when we go to do a makeup look, so to say, like we start with one idea in mind and then we make a series of mistakes, which actually end up shaping the final project. Much like this podcast in itself, a series of mistakes just lead to whatever it is that is created. So I definitely could see where if I was trying to build some shit based off of like your fucking schematics and like there's like 6 feet off on like a corner or like a wall
like,
and
it's fine.
Like, we'll put a curtain there. We'll put a curtain there.
Once you start getting into the like formulas and having to input formulas into computer systems to form a shape, I'm like, I'm out, bruh. So
the second it becomes one bit difficult.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Which is the story of my life.
Our lives.
Yes. In this podcast, the days of our lives. So when you think of modern day prisons, you kind of think what? Like structure, order, systems that are very lawful and disciplined. But prior to 1829, that really wasn't the case. A lot of places really ran amok with sickness, corruption, prostitution, very much how they still are today.
Amok.
And they were just kind of very chaotic. And in 1790, Dr. Benjamin Rush was one of Philadelphia's civic leaders and also, learn this, signer of the Declaration of Independence. Founded and this
ironic.
Is great.
Very ironic. Declaration of Independence versus servitude and imprisonment.
Yeah, well. I absolutely love this name for what they founded. It was the Philadelphia Society for Alleviating the Miseries of Public Prisons.
Into it. Sounds like we could use them nowadays.
For real.
It's a lot of misery in the prison system.
And hello.
The truck.
There's
always there for you.
Always there. So Rush was very anti-capital punishment. He believed that things like public punishments were counterproductive and, instead proposed things that, were better, like confinement and isolation, labor, and religious reform.
Cool.
Because that's a totally suitable alternative.
I mean, I guess you ain't dead, but you might want to be.
Probably. You may also find another name as a member to this group. Our boy Benjamin Franklin. He loves joining groups, apparently. I've come to find that out.
He was a committee guy.
He was
on a lot of weird, random committees for things.
I
don't really think he knew what was going on in any of them. I think he just liked to have all. He was the club girl from high school. He was the girl with all the clubs. She was in beta. She was in 4-H. She was on the debate team, honey. She was doing it. She was in the school plays. She was on it.
What's that?
Played a couple
agriculture
sports.
Club. What do they call that? Future farmers.
Oh, Future Farmers of America?
Yeah.
FFA
on that.
I always got jealous of their field trips because they got to go to fucking state fairs and shit.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to go and get candy apples.
One time I actually joined DECA.
Did you really?
I joined DECA.
I think I knew. Isn't that for business? Future business people? Hey! Using it.
CEOs over here. I
it.
joined DECA specifically for the field trip.
What was the field trip for DECA?
The field trip for DECA was to I think it was to a state fair or some bullshit.
The fuck? How are they going to a state? I mean, I get it for the Future Farmers of America, but what the fuck is DECA doing at the state fair? Was everybody just going to the state fair?
Probably.
Damn, I was in the wrong club. Beta did not take me to a fair.
I think
it took me to Florida.
State fair. I think it was a state fair. I went for the field trip. And then after that, I was like, bye.
Yeah.
They're like, you want to?
Got to.
They're like, meetings next week. And I'm like, okay, see you there.
Yeah.
No. So, yeah, joins a lot of groups. Looking at you, Hellfire Club.
Yeah.
And so this group actually exists to this day. But 31 years after its founding, the Pennsylvania legislature approved the funding to build the Eastern State Penitentiary.
Okay.
So we've got this funding, and now we've got this sort of Hunger Games style fight to the death on who gets to design this prison. Our victor ends up being an English architect by the name of John Haviland, who was a fan of neoclassical architecture.
America loves her neoclassical architecture.
Yeah.
I feel like America, particularly at this period of time, because what year is it? Mid 1800s? We love it. We just thought it was the classiest thing. And we were like, put some columns on it.
Columns on
classy.
Everything.
Put some columns on it. I want nude statues. I want columns. I want everything painted white. Please.
Yeah, and that's kind of the style that it's defined by. It's kind of simplistic, very non-ornamental in a sense, and heavily inspired by Greek.
Yeah,
architecture.
That's what's classy.
Because that is classy.
Make it classy.
Yeah.
But
and symmetrical. That was also a piece. Everything's really symmetrical when it comes to that.
Got it.
So our guy John wins the contract, and he gets a whopping total of $100 for his design.
Amazing. I bet that was a lot of money in that time. It doesn't sound.
I don't think
it was
so.
that much.
I don't think so. He got $100, and then on top of that, his rival architect for the commission was chosen to oversee the construction of it.
Damn.
Ain't that some shit?
They were like, let's cause the drama. They were like, drama city.
They were. That's I don't know. That's just so shady to me. They're like, we're going to take your design. Here's $100, and we're going to get some other guy to oversee it.
That's funny. Oh, I looked it up, by the way.
Looked what up?
The value of $100 back in that time period was around $2,500.
Huh.
Which still doesn't sound like a lot
if
for
you're building
a building
the major a major fucking
feature, building. Yeah. You would think it would be a little more.
Yeah.
So
you would think. So in 1822, construction begins. This other architect fucks off somewhere. I don't really know why. He just leaves the project. And John ends up overseeing his project in the end. So
that sounds suspicious.
Go John.
They were
Very
rivals,
much.
you say.
They were rivals.
They were rivals. That sounds suspicious.
It sounds very suspicious. Could you imagine
He
the
just
drama
disappeared?
channels back then?
Absolutely. There would be like a million
They're like,
videos on
it's not a drama channel. It's like a fucking, they've got like Quill and fucking.
It's a drama telegram. It's a drama telegram circuit.
You just have someone shouting out from the streets. They're holding a lantern and then they're just like spilling the tea.
Hear ye, hear ye.
Hear ye,
Come
hear
and
ye.
hear, come forth and hear the spilt tea. I love it. So I'm starting the show from now on.
So John John designed Eastern State kind of like a wagon wheel, and that it has 7 cell blocks that extend from a center watchtower and are surrounded by these giant 30-foot walls. And these walls were specifically designed to look menacing. Looking at the prison from the outside, it's almost like a Gothic castle that's just right in the middle of modern-day Philly. And when you see it for the first time, it's really intimidating and foreboding. And like I said, that was the intent. The outside was meant to strike fear into people to dissuade them from committing crimes.
Yeah.
Don't commit a crime or else you're going to,
Right.
end up behind the walls of this big,
You don't want to make
scary-ass
it look
fucking
cool
place.
because then everybody's going to be like robbing people.
It's kind of like my own emotional walls that I have put up. Just big and scary, don't come in. Dr. Benjamin Rush, this is a quote from him. He says, "Let the avenue to this house be rendered difficult and gloomy. Let the doors be of iron, and let the grating, occasioned by opening and shutting them, be increased by an echo that shall deeply pierce the soul."
He sounds like a really happy guy.
He's fucking crazy. I'm like, okay, Dr. Benjamin Rush. Calm down, Mary. So inside, you really start to see the intention of this particular type of isolation reform known as the Pennsylvania system. The cells were 8 by 12 and about 10 foot high. There was a small opening where guards could send food and work materials through. They had their own individual exercise, quote, yards, and I use the term loosely because it was really just another cell connected to their own. Even down to plumbing. In order to prevent the prisoners from communicating, each cell had their own toilet with pipes that connected down to a center system, as opposed to going from cell to cell, which would have made it easier for prisoners to pass messages. And each cell had a single skylight that they called the Eye of God, because religion was, and still is, used as a tool for reformation. And remember, these were Quakers, who were mostly lobbying for this specific belief system. And even the word penitentiary is a derivative of the word penitent.
Right.
So, for the times, Eastern State was astounding and technologically advanced and was one of the most expensive projects ever completed at about $800,000. So that's why I'm calling bullshit on this $100 that you give to design this.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
mm-mm.
I mean, I'm sure the 800,000 number was
That's
that
what it
a
was back then.
contemporary
Yeah.
number?
That was back then.
It's like an unfathomable amount of money.
It cost them $800. It was like just below $800,000. So what that is today, I guess you'll look it up for us.
Oh, I guess I will. Shit.
So no,
That's
you
like
don't have to.
unfathomable, though. That's
Pretty-
crazy.
It was a lot. It was crazy.
Huh.
So on October 23rd, 1829, the prison opened and was set to hold about 250 inmates. The first prisoner to be booked into Eastern State was a man by the name of Charles Williams. Charles was 18 years of age when he was sentenced to 2 years of confinement for the theft of a watch, a $3 gold seal, and a gold key. They would have placed a bag over his head as he entered, and he would continue to wear one anytime he was being escorted to or from his cell block, where he wouldn't see anybody, talk to anybody, or do literally anything for 2 years, except walk out to his exercise yard for 1 hour a day and read the Bible. No visitors, No singing or whistling. Even the guards wore covers over their shoes to prevent excess noise from reverberating off the walls. And the Quakers sort of explain this policy that no prisoner is seen by another after he enters the wall. When the years of confinement have passed, his old associates in crime will be scattered over the earth or in the grave, and the prisoner can go forth into a new and industrious life where his previous misdeeds are unknown.
Interesting theory, Marcy, but I don't think that's how that's going to work if you literally don't let a human being see another human being for like fucking years.
You think?
Maybe. I mean, we could try it out and see how it fucking works, but I don't think it's going to work well.
I don't either.
I'm no psychiatrist. But I don't think it's going to work out well. I'm no Dr. Phil, honestly.
No, you're a podcaster.
Who among us, right? But I don't think
Dr.
it's gonna
Phil's
work
actually
out.
listening right now, and he's like, well.
That's a great idea. No. No, he would never endorse that. I love Dr.
Yeah,
Phil.
it was just kind of
Fucking
crazy.
stan.
Like, I always just kind of pictured Quakers as these really nice, like, peaceful people, but... Like, while researching this, I couldn't help but to imagine, like, a fucking big-ass Quaker Oats man just pacing the corridors of this fucking...
Oh, terrifying.
This fucking, like, prison with, like, the little booties that they make you wear to an open house or some shit.
That's funny.
That
But
would be
also
fucking
absolutely
terrifying.
Like, yeah, like a 20-foot tall Quaker Oats man. He's just like fucking nah.
That's what I'm saying.
Nah. Somebody call Ghostbusters on that shit because it's not
Bitch,
gonna happen.
Keep me in this cell.
Yeah. Give me that bag over my head. I don't want to see
I don't
it.
want to look. I don't want to look at the Quaker Oats man.
Quakers were, yeah, I'm surprised because I mean, they, for the most part, everything that you read about, like in history class, and even beyond that, really, for the most part, Quakers were nonviolent. They were portrayed as like very chill ass folks.
I think what they thought they were doing was right.
I think
for
they
the
had good
times.
intentions. Like we don't want you to associate with the people from your former life so that you can have rehabilitation. But like, you got to give them somebody to associate with because otherwise they're going to disassociate.
I mean,
is how that works.
You can't just like strip people of everything, their
Yeah,
humanity.
of
It
people.
doesn't really work. But while the prison itself wasn't as bad as most other prisons of the time in regards to things like healthcare and food quality, again, we still just found out that isolation does not work when you're trying to, quote unquote, reform somebody.
Right.
It mostly just equals mental abuse.
Yes.
And insanity.
Yeah.
And the punishments for violating these isolation rules were not pleasant. Although the Quakers banned flogging at the prison, other types of corporal punishment were used. If you were caught communicating with another inmate by, say, tapping on a pipe, you might be denied a few meals or secluded in a dark, empty cell for a day or two. Or, if your infraction was more serious, you were chained to a cell wall or denied a blanket in winter. One prisoner was kept in a dark cell in irons for 42 days. When a counselor discovered the delirious inmate and gave him some bread and water, that counselor was fired.
Discovered like they had fucking lost him. Oh.
I feel like this was probably like a new counselor, and he came in and then he was like, okay, this
like, "Oh, I
isn't
love
bad.
that."
And then he just like took a wrong turn and discovered this fucking delirious inmate who's been locked in a dark cell and is just shouting random nonsense probably. And he's like, let me get you some food and water. And then the big Quaker
Get you a
Oats man
beverage.
comes in and he just he doesn't say anything. He just fucking like gives like this most
He just quakes with
serious-
rage. Fuck. Oh no.
And they just like chuck this motherfucker out. They're like, we're not having any of that fucking
You're not
kindness.
Eastern State Penitentiary material. Penitentiary?
Penitentiary. Fucking kindness. We don't know her. Get out.
No, it's very interesting because it seems like because they were big on nonviolence, what we're seeing is instead of punishment being like flogging or something physical, it's it is nonviolent, technically, because you're just isolating somebody, but it's very psychologically damaging.
Yes.
It's very, by taking, not saying that I'm a proponent of violence, but by turning away from, it's like they kept the intensity of it, but they just took it from violence like flogging or beatings or whatever into psychological warfare in isolating people.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
chaining
physical
people to walls,
but
and denying you a blanket. It's technically not violence, but it like is very damaging in the same way.
Yeah. And especially with things like, they also had something called a shower bath, which was another punishment that was used at the prison.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Well, yeah, a shower bath sounds great.
I love a shower bath.
Especially when you're an inmate and you're stripped to the waist, chained to an outside wall in cold weather, and then doused with cold water.
Oh.
And if it was cold enough outside, you literally would freeze to death.
Well, that's not good. What were they going to do when you freeze? What happens then?
I don't know.
You know, like, what happens?
I don't know, girl. I guess you've been given to God at that point.
Interesting. Maybe like he passed of natural causes.
Mm-hmm. Well, even crueler than that was something called the iron gag. And this was a 5-inch piece of metal that fit over the inmate's tongue. And the inmate was also cuffed with his wrists behind him, and a chain was connected from the gag to the cuffs. And if the inmate fought the device and pulled with his arms, the gag was forced deeper into his mouth. And at least one inmate did die from the iron gag. So.
It's not fun. That's not proper use of gags.
No.
It's not a I feel victimized by that. It's not appropriate at all.
No, it's not. It's not.
We don't support that. The Haunted Heart podcast does not support the iron gag specifically.
Well, the gag of it all. This didn't go unnoticed. So eventually, people were like, you know, maybe this isn't the best way.
Yeah.
Maybe
you
it's
know? Not.
The fucking Quaker Oats man is just standing there and he's just fucking eyeing them down while the person's like, maybe not. He's just like,
Maybe so.
Charles Dickens actually visited the prison, and he said, the system is rigid, strict, and hopeless solitary confinement, and I believe it in its effects to be cruel and wrong. I hold this slow and daily tampering with the mysteries of the brain to be immeasurably worse than any torture of the body.
Oh my God, Dickens. Jesus. All you have to say is it's fucked. It's fucked. That's it. You can tell that this asshole got paid by the word. So the thing here is that by taking the nonviolence out of, or taking the violence out of this and moving towards a nonviolent sort of like penitence that you're making people pay, and a nonviolent quote unquote way of punishing people, you're sort of, by having somebody in solitary confinement for that long, obviously it has effects on them and their sanity.
Yeah.
But you're also not really focusing on rehabilitation.
Exactly.
Because by keeping them in solitary, like in the real world, there's not really, you have to deal with other people. You have to deal with other people around you, looking at you, moving through your space, whatever. Maybe not right now because we're in quarantine. We're all going crazy. But real, like, other people are part of the experience out in the real world. And so by taking that element away for however many years that people are incarcerated, you're not teaching them, you're not rehabilitating them on how to interact with people and how to be a functioning member of society. Instead, you're just removing society from them completely and leaving them in a solitary state, which, if anything, if they don't go crazy, that's only going to reinforce their own narcissism. That's only going to reinforce their own sense of self. That's going to make them less sympathetic or empathetic with other people's emotions than what other people are going through. And that, in a lot of cases, certainly not all, but in a lot of cases, particularly with violent crime, that is the big issue, is that the person who's committing these acts has a lack of ability to empathize with the people that he or she is perpetrating crimes against.
Right.
And by taking all other people away and all interaction with other people away, you're certainly not helping that.
No, not at all. Not one bit.
No.
Not one bit. And also, it's not like a one-size-fits-all thing. You know what I mean? It's not like everybody just gets to, go into confinement and come out a better person. That's not like, no.
Yeah.
Like, it affects people differently, mostly negative, and is not doing anything.
Well, humans in general are very social creatures. And even if, even introverts and people who are naturally sort of standoffish, they still need some sort of social interaction. They still need to have some sort of reinforcement, not even with having a conversation, just as basic as, like you were saying, they put the bag over over the inmates' heads before they move them. Just taking away the ability to have someone else see you, to see someone else look at you, takes away part of your humanity, because it sort of, I could see where over time you would start to wonder, am I even really here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because seeing other people see you helps reaffirm you.
Yeah.
That's why solitary confinement in the prison system today, because this is actually still used, it's only used as it's supposed to only be used as one of the most severe forms of punishment, because it is so intense.
Yeah.
To be by yourself completely for longer extended periods of time.
Yeah. There are no figures on how many people went insane at Eastern State. Prison officials persistently claimed that solitary confinement had no ill effects.
Oh, you mean they didn't keep record of how many people lost their fucking minds?
No. Well, they just said that they didn't have any. They were like, they're fine.
Oh,
meanwhile, there's some motherfucker running
there's
across.
There's an inmate
crazy.
just smashing his fucking skull into the concrete wall. Yeah, he's fine. He's doing fine.
No ill effects. But cases of mental illness were frequently attributed to things like excessive masturbation, which what the fuck else are you gonna do? Bitch, I'm gonna tell you what, like, put me in that damn cell. That fucking eye of God better close, because he better close that eye, girl, because he ain't gonna want to see what's going down in that prison cell. That's all I got to say. If that's the only thing you gonna give me, that the Bible, honey, some freaky shit about to go down. That's all I'm gonna say. But, I mean, what else are they going to do, right? One inmate lost his mind and died within a few months of incarceration. The prison physician concluded that the inmate, quote, though apparently well on admission, was strongly predisposed to mania.
Interesting.
Yeah. He was fine when he came in, but I guess he was just fucked beforehand.
Got it. Yep. I feel like that's what they would say about us.
It won't us.
They might can make that case.
We didn't do anything. He was just predisposed to go in bad shit.
Oh,
crazy.
yeah. Yeah. You know.
It won't us. We didn't do nothing.
What normal person can't take 42 days of complete solitary confinement chained to a wall with no food or water?
Yeah, exactly.
Who couldn't?
So in 1913, the prison finally abandoned the Pennsylvania method, disposing of the iron gags and masks. But by the 1920s, the prison, which was originally meant to hold 250 inmates, was then housing over 1,700.
Ah, so now, prison overcrowding.
Exactly.
So glad we've overcome that problem.
Yes. So it was originally meant to house about 250 people, like I said. They had made... what's the word I'm looking for? Not adjustments, but they were making renovations, so they didn't still have the original 250 cells, but they were still putting multiple people to a cell and this. So they did add additional cell blocks, but
interesting that they abandoned their interest in confining prisoners and reinforcing solitary confinement when they became overcrowded and needed to put more than one prisoner to a cell.
Exactly.
How funny that those two things just kind of lined up. They had a philosophical shift and change.
You know what? We don't believe in that anymore. It's a new us.
We don't believe.
It's like that Taylor Swift song
us,
where
babe.
she's like, the old Taylor's dead.
Yes. That's it.
So, and then, of course, with overcrowding, you see a lot of what? Rioting. Lots of riots broke out. Several escape attempts were made by about 100 people. Only one inmate was ever successful, a man by the name of Leo Callahan. He literally just built a ladder, climbed it, and walked out.
Out of the eye of God? Like out of the hole?
No, I want to assume outside of the prison.
Oh, okay. He just
Not outside of
Nobody
the prison,
fucking
but in
saw
the
his
yard.
ass?
In the yard, because it does have a yard around the cell blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to assume that he just built a ladder and then just put it up and then fucking walked out of there. He had about 5 other people with him, and they were all captured, but Leo got away.
Damn.
And remained at large. They never got him.
Damn, that fucking dude, man. That's an American tall tale for you. That's a fucking folk song. Mm-hmm. What was his name? Leo what?
Leo Callahan.
Leo Callahan.
Uh-huh.
That man said, "I'm gonna be free."
I just love it because the thing is that like one of the main methods of escape attempts were to build tunnels, and there are lots of tunnels that exist underneath Eastern State because of prisoners trying to get out. And so like to me the idea of fucking sitting there with probably a fucking spoon trying to is just like, girl, just keep me in prison. Like I ain't even trying that hard, know.
But I guess if you were incarcerated like that and you had literally nothing to do, I mean, our prison system today is far from functional, but there is in most places there's a bit more structure to a prisoner's day. Mm-hmm. But imagining what things must have been like for those folks that were there just because of the way that the prison was run. Yeah. I would imagine that building a tunnel or doing something like that, even though it's like painstaking and you make like very little progress every day because you're probably working with like a fucking spoon or something, like that would give you something to do. Yeah, rather than just sitting there, something to do, something to strive for. And it almost becomes like, yeah, it is sort of about the escape, or at least it was in the beginning, but now it's just about having something to fucking do. Yeah, I get that. I just really appreciate, the fact that Leo was like, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to build this fucking ladder. How did he keep the fucking ladder hidden? I'm not sure. What the fuck? How quick did he build this ladder? I don't know, but he did, and he got away. I wanted to say he probably got other people involved. Sounds like an inside job. So that way who knows? Could have been, but he, was never captured, so go Leo. And Eastern State hosted a bunch of other famous criminals, most notably Al Capone, notorious bank robber William Francis Sutton, and even women such as Frida Frost, who had been convicted of murdering her husband. So they had women there too. They even had a dog as an inmate. I think I have mentioned this before on another episode, but Pep the dog was sentenced for supposedly murdering his wife's beloved cat. So this dog had like a mugshot, a number, and like, man, that was at the prison. Yeah, so damn. He was a really cute dog too. The picture of him and like his little number, it was really cute. I bet the inmates loved that because they were like, yay. Yeah, I think it's kind of speculated that it was probably done to boost morale, to like have a dog around, as opposed to like, I'm actually just sentencing this fucking dog. But I hope it worked out for him, for the dog. I'm worried about him. Yeah. I hope they didn't fuck him. I'm well, so my mind wasn't going there, but I just, so glad that fucking depressing part of Katie just I really hope finds her way in, doesn't it? I don't think they didn't. I don't think they did. I think the dog had a very nice life in prison. Yep. Anyway. Yep. So the prison eventually closed its doors in 1971. The remaining prisoners were transferred to other facilities, and the prison just sort of sat for years as the city grew around it and a forest grew within it. The only thing it housed until the late 80s was a bunch of stray cats that were kept fed by the prisoners' last caretaker. Yes, I love that vibe. That's what I'm looking for. I'm gonna be on HGTV on the fucking House Hunters International, and that's gonna be me. I'm looking for old haunted ass prison overrun by fucking cats. With just trees growing up through it. That's what I'm looking for.
That's my budget.
You just find me that and we'll be fine.
It was really cool because years later, after it opened to the public and they started doing their art installations in there was an artist who went and put in sculptures of cats.
Yes.
Throughout the prison to represent the cats that had lived there when they discovered back then.
Love that, but also the ghost of that fucking dog was pissed.
They're called ghosts. Well, they're actually called ghost cats. The ghost cats of Eastern State. And I think from what I understand, the cats ended up living there, but they fixed the cats so that they wouldn't be like, making more babies and stuff like that and all of that.
TSR.
All of that.
Or TNR, trap, neuter, release.
Yeah. So the artist put these sculptures in different places around the prison, and they were made of some sort of biodegradable material that eventually over time disappeared, like the cats. It's kind of sad.
Wouldn't the whole point of putting a statue of the cat there be to memorialize its spirit so that it's always...
Well, because it was I guess it wasn't necessarily to memorialize, but it was to sort of reflect on the fact that, you had this and I think it was a significant amount of cats that lived here at this time. And then because the fact that they just all lived their lives and died out here, that was kind of the whole point of the art piece. So it ends up being kind of sad. Because I didn't see the statues when I was there.
What the fuck?
So I think by then it had disappeared, but...
Can somebody put some real fucking statues of these cats up? I'm really worried about them.
It was beautiful.
It's dumb.
The way she's looking at me.
It's dumb. I mean, I get it, but they left once, so then I would think that you would build a statue to memorialize them so that there would always be a lasting impression of them there. But then to have the lasting impression of them fade away to nothingness is just wow.
You really
should really check on that guy. So
anyway, a task force
we just gonna watch it die again. That would be if you died and I was really sad, and then I built a you to memorialize you that each day just sort of faded away more and more, and then I get to watch you die another time. I don't understand. That's fucked. I would not have given that guy a grant. I'd be like, how about you put a concrete statue of some fucking cats up?
Well, but also I don't think that they can, because it's a historical landmark, I don't think they can make any permanent changes like that.
Man, fuck that. Them cats lived there. Shit. That was their home.
I don't know
anyway,
the specifics.
Let's get back to talking about the people who
Yeah.
fucking lived there.
Well, so anyway, like I said, we're in the 80s. This task force was created to go in and preserve the building, as it was by that time, like I said, a historic landmark. And in 1994, it opened up for its first historic tours on a daily basis, and has only continued to grow in popularity since then. And obviously, it's not just the architecture and history that attracts visitors. Eastern State is known to be one of the most haunted locations in the U.S. While they didn't practice capital punishment, it was home to its fair share of murders, including both inmates and guards, as well as others who died from disease and old age and that fucking horrible gag thing.
Yeah. And freezing to death,
Dozens of paranormal investigators flock to the prison every year in order to catch a glimpse of an unruly spirit who may be bound to the prison even in death. And these claims have been made since the 40s. Cell Block 12 is known for echoing voices and cackling. Block number 6 is notorious for hosting an ominous black shape. And it was in Cell Block 4 where the most notorious sighting happened. A man by the name of Gary Johnson, who was helping maintain the crumbling old locks at the prison. What kind of job that is, I don't know.
What an interesting career path.
I'm maintaining these crumbly locks at this prison that isn't being used anymore. In the early 90s, he had just opened an old lock in cell block 4 when he says a force gripped him so tightly that he was unable to move. He described a negative, horrible energy that exploded out of the cell. He said tormented faces appeared on the cell walls and that one form in particular beckoned to him. And even during haunt season, when the prison turns into terror behind the walls, the creatures who are paid to do the scaring often end up getting more than they bargained for. Creative director and general manager of Terror Behind the Walls, Amy Holloman, has been working at Eastern State for 13 seasons and had her first paranormal experience ever at the site. She says, prior to that, I had been a skeptic about paranormal activity. I wasn't the kind of person hoping to find ghosts or assuming there were ghosts. All of a sudden, in the back area of the room we were in, we started to hear these sounds, like a person was stamping something, and then moving a paper over repeatedly. Then we heard the sound of a cup move. These were independent sounds that lasted for 15 seconds. It doesn't seem like that long of a time, but imagine if something is terrifying you, it's pretty long. I literally learned what the word petrified meant. I was frozen stiff. Holloman also works with the actors as part of her job, and 2 different ghostly accounts from 2 different actors certainly sent chills up her spine. According to many ghost investigators, Cell Block 12 is one of the hottest paranormal spots on site, she reveals. An actor says to me one year, Amy, I can't work on the top floor of Cell Block 12 anymore. Can you move my spot? She asks him why, and he replies, there's a ghost up there. When I was at the edge of the cell block, it looked like this woman was running towards me, screaming, and once she got close to me, she turned around and ran back. Holloman thought this account was weird, but just switched his spot. 3 years later, a totally different actor comes to her with a similar story about the second floor of cell block 12 being haunted. You'll never believe this, but I think it was a banshee. It was flying down the cell block towards me, screaming, and then turned back. Holloman says of the second actor's story. So, some pretty interesting coincidences there. But despite these accounts, even Eastern State's staff have a few skeptics in their ranks who haven't actually seen or heard ghosts, like the director of interactivity for Terror Behind the Walls, Jennifer Tomczak. I tell people that I do not believe in ghosts, but I look for them during my evenings working as a performer, she says. Tomczak has been with Eastern State for 14 seasons and has never seen anything, quote, manifest in physical form, but admits that she's had odd sensations now and then. My head throbbed and I felt cold and queasy while standing in 3 locations. The warden's office, the very back section of Klondike, which were punishment cells, and near a pipe closet on the second floor of Death Row. Tomczak says she openly invites ghostly creatures to hang out with her while working. She says, I openly welcome an apparition's companionship during my long nights in the crumbling cell blocks, she admits. Girl, really?
Interesting.
I don't know. So obviously,
she sounds like she wants it though. She sounds like she wants it so
she
bad
wants to believe.
that it's not. Yeah, she wants it so bad.
She wants it. She's like, come on.
She's like, come on, ghosts, please come on.
So with that, obviously, you know, and with any paranormal experience, you're going to have skeptics and you're going to have believers. But for me, I didn't personally feel anything negative when I was there. It may not have been spirits, but the prison did speak to me. They host art exhibitions that are based on a variety of subjects involving prison life from queer perspectives, especially in the trans community. An inmate by the name of Isaac Hall was incarcerated for 8 years for the crime of consensual sex with a same-sex partner. But what's interesting is that it's noted their alias was written as Lady Washington. So it's suspected that they may have been referring to their gender identity. It's not confirmed, but on all records, this Isaac person was listed as an alias, or Lady Washington was listed as this person's alias.
Interesting.
DeHanza Rogers has an exhibit titled #Black Girlhood that brings to light the school to prison pipeline that so many experience. Tyler Held uses his art to speak on stripping people of their identities by placing a fully stripped down car inside one of the cell blocks. There's a piece called Photo Requests from Solitary, which invites people who are currently in solitary confinement to request photos of anything, and guests can submit photographs to help fulfill those requests. And one of my absolute favorite pieces was one called Chorus. And the artist, Jess Perlitz, went around to different prisons and asked men and women if they could sing one song and have that one song heard, what would it be? And you sit in this cell and you hear a voice begin to sing. And then slowly and slowly, a new song and a new voice is layered over top of the next until you're eventually left with this chaotic, almost maddening, but still immensely beautiful work of art. I literally wept in this room. It was, I stood there. My mom was like, all right, I'm gone. Bye. And I'm like in the middle, like holding my mouth. Like,
yeah. You told me about this after, like right after you went. You told me about this particular exhibit. I would like to.
It was really powerful. For me, I don't know how it is for other people, but it was something about, because it comes towards I believe it comes towards the end. And then, so for me, it was, when you take into account that these cell blocks were meant to be, like everything was meant to be quiet. Like you weren't allowed to whistle. You weren't allowed to sing. You weren't allowed to do anything. And to just have these voices. And yes, like I said, as it goes on, it just becomes like this weird, like meshing of like words,
like
and
unrecognizable
songs that you can't really, like you can't recognize it, but you can. Like you get bits and pieces of what the songs are saying, but it was probably the most haunting I have, like, that was my haunting at Eastern State. But beautiful art exhibits, like really powerful, really moving art exhibits. So to kind of close in what I'm saying, I have to really applaud the people behind Eastern State on not making ghost tours the focal point.
Right.
You know, that's going to naturally drive people in regardless. And it's almost like they're able to take that and say, okay, while you're here looking for creepy shit, you're going to get some knowledge.
Right.
And there are so many other installations and messages that they speak to as you tour the grounds. But the overall message for me was that you don't come here and learn about ghosts. You come here and you learn about humans who, for whatever reason, have found themselves assigned a number and a cell block. And I understand that there are horrible people who do horrible things and deserve appropriate corrective actions, but the brush isn't so broad. And some of us are only one situation away, one skin tone lighter from being swept up in that stroke. And it's our humanity that makes us who we are. That is our eye of God. And it's up to us to use that to fight the stigmas, fight the injustices, and fight for true reform. Because at the end of the day, those walls, those big 30-foot walls that are so scary and separate us, aren't as tall as we believe. And that was a huge message that I felt was given to me when I toured the prison. Yeah. They had so many different, they had an interactive experience where they went and they had these letters that regular people toured. And some were from people that had toured the building, some were from actual inmates, and they were stories of like things that people have done.
Right.
And you look at the letters and you have to guess which one is from a prisoner and which one was from someone who just toured the place. And it has a little button beside it, and you guess, like, is this from an inmate, from someone who is currently incarcerated, or is this from someone who is free? And there was some fucked up shit written, you know, by people who are most likely probably still out and about because it's all anonymous.
Right.
But it's things like that they really got you thinking, and it was just, I can't speak highly of of the tour. And plus the tour guide was fucking, it was an audio tour, and it was presented by Steve Buscemi. Like,
Amazing.
like,
You gotta go.
I'm like,
Steve Buscemi's
fucking
here.
Steve Buscemi, like,
We love it.
fucking
we
hell
love
yeah.
to see it. How funny.
And I found out, I think that there was a movie that he might have been in or something that was the reason, and they used part of it
that makes sense.
for Eastern State. And I think that's why that they have him there. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't need any context for that. I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi.
I was like, it was so random. I walked up and I started the tour, and it's just like you look down at the little plate that tells you, like, this is where you start your tour. Da, 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 da. And then there's just a picture of Steve Buscemi.
That's the scariest thing in the whole fucking prison. Right?
I was half expecting the fucking Quaker Oats man staring back there.
He just busts out through the cardboard standee of Steve Buscemi.
That's what I would do. I'm going to tell you what, if I was the fucking director of Terror Behind the Walls, I'd end it that way. I'd just have a fucking big ass fucking Quaker Oats man right there at the end.
Hell yeah.
Fucking.
Just watching you.
So. But that's my story today
Interesting.
on Eastern State. Like I said, I didn't experience anything negative there. I actually found it to be quite peaceful. It was somber, but I never felt anything like grip me negatively while I was there.
Right.
So, but I would like to go back.
I would like to go. I would like to go and see, what it's all like, especially with those art exhibits. It's really cool that they seem to be through the tour and through the art exhibits. They're sort of taking this thing, like you said, that could be so one-dimensional of like go on the ghost tour, which the best ghost tours honestly do incorporate some sort of transformative and historical information.
Yeah.
So the best ghost tours do actually do that. But I like that, instead of going for maybe what would be really easy, they're sort of putting the effort in to create a transformational experience and to kind of put you in a space to think critically about the way that we approach our prison system today, because it is very much still broken in different ways. And that there is the school to prison pipeline where, like we were saying when we were talking about the goal of reform being teaching somebody the tools and skills and socialization that they need to have in order to mesh back in with society and be a functioning, member of society who can be proud of themselves and who can also interact with others in a functional way as opposed to a dysfunctional way. That is still something that we are missing in our prison system today. It's very rare to, in fact, I can't even think of an example of a prison where that is sort of the norm, that the goal is reforming truly, and it's about educating and making sure there's a whole. We could do an entire episode just on that. We could probably do several episodes just on that, of talking about the various ways in which the prison system's failing us today. But there are systemic issues of racism. There are systemic issues of classism. A lot of people who are ending up in that revolving door when it comes to, going to prison, getting out, going right back in, a lot of those folks come from a similar economic background, and the opportunities to have a life outside of that just weren't either they weren't there, or they weren't bright enough, or they, it's very easy to say, that people aren't just trying hard enough. But I think it's an entirely different thing and a much more difficult thing to understand that the system is broken and find a way to approach, fixing that, because it is a really complicated problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring up classism because, like I mentioned with Al Capone, the famous Al Capone, like when you go to see his cell and how his cell was set up was completely different from everybody else's. Yeah. He had fucking rugs, lamps, like he was completely outfitted. Right. Like it looks like a fucking like nice ass fucking Airbnb. Yeah. To be honest. And even back then that was still apparent, and it still continues to this day. Yeah.
For
and
sure.
I think like the U.S. has what, like 2.3 million people currently incarcerated. It's like something more than more than any place in the world.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So-
And prisons are very overcrowded. We're sending folks to prison for all kinds of crazy things that really, not to get political because the whole world is too political nowadays, but there's a lot going on. There is actually, I did want to look up, I didn't plan this because I didn't know what you were talking about, but there's actually a really cool books to inmate program that I have been associated with. So I'm just going to look it up really quickly so I can share that information. Yeah, it's called Bookem, which is kind of ironic. It's called Bookem. It's based out of Pittsburgh. It's basically a books to prisoners system. You can find them at Bookem, which is BOOKEMPA.org. But it's basically this organization that collects books and distributes books to prisoners to help with the sort of like educational element of reform, which a lot of times is very difficult. I mean, luckily, a lot of prisons have GED programs and things like that, and like skills-based education programs that prisoners can take if they're interested in. But the Bookem program is just really cool, and it seems to be run by decent folks. So check that out, and you can participate even if you're not in PA. But
Yeah.
Check it out.
Well, I guess you can tell us where they can check us out.
Check us out too. Yeah. You can find us on Instagram at the Haunted Heart.
Outside your window looking at you at night like the fucking Quaker Oats man.
Bitch, I can't stay awake for that. We done already talked about how we are old biddies now that are like how we are werewolf aging gracefully. No, you can find us on Instagram at The Haunted Heart Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at The Haunted Heart. We are also on Facebook. Check out our closed Facebook group. If you're not in there, I mean, where are you, girl?
Where the fuck you at?
Where are you? We've been waiting. Just search The Haunted Heart Podcast on Facebook. You will find our page if you'll give us a like there. You can also recommend us if you want. It's kind of like rating, but just for Facebook. Facebook got to have its own names for everything. But you will also find our closed Facebook group. It's closed just for your privacy. It's not that we don't want to be social. We love you. We want you in the group. But we just need you to request to join. And then either Kenny, myself, or a member of our Murder Mod Squad will approve you. And then you can access all the cool horror memes, true crime memes, good conversation. Everybody in our Facebook group is cooler than us. So there you have it. We're also on Patreon, as you said, patreon.com/thehauntedheart, as Kenny said at the top of the episode. If you've listened to the backlog of episodes and you need more content, you can always find it there. Tiers start at like $1 a month.
Dollar makes us holla. Haven't said that in a while.
You haven't. We missed it.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Is that everywhere we are?
I mean, yeah, fucking
think
review
that's
us.
everywhere we
I'm
are.
gonna come in and tell you to fucking review us. Get
Please
on that
review
fucking
us.
app, fucking podcast, whatever. Get on that fucking app.
Look,
and
make
review
us laugh. We need to. He needs to. Specifically, Kenny needs to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, are you gonna close? Should you close us out? This
Should
week?
I close us out?
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I mean,
here.
I can. I certainly can. I mean, so I'm just going to say to all our kith, as we learned at the top of the episode, I need like a sound, like a cool sound there, like Pee Wee's Playhouse, the word of the day.
Fucking Mike Tyson, like, kith.
Giveth a kith. Yeah, to all our kith, our friends, family, relatives, and neighbors. We wish you well. We hope that your quarantine isn't feeling like a prison sentence. Get up, do something like active if you can. Try to keep your mental space together. Try to do one thing a day that is just for you, that makes you feel good about yourself, whether that is being productive or whether that is creating a piece of art or whether that's doing some writing or whether that is doing like a dumb dancing video, fitness video on YouTube.
TikTok. Do a TikTok
or TikTok.
video.
Yeah, sure. Sell your face to China. Do what you want. But just try to do something each day that's for you. And until next time, stay.
Nope. I completely fucked that one.
And until next time,
Stay spooky. And watch out for the Quaker Oats man.